Here is a tutorial on how to achieve this soft glam smoky wing long lasting prom makeup. So to create this look, we are starting off by going in with the base. Here I am fresh face. I'm going in with the Grace and Stella Rose spray as a nice refreshing hydrating initial start. Next up I'm going in with hydration, and to do this I'm using the Aloe Water Jelly by Garnier, and this is really great for holding the water levels in the skin as it contains a lot of hyaluronic acid. So I'm putting this on the face, neck and head. Now hydrating the eye area using the eye masks from Nip and Fab. This is really great for preventing any creasing with your concealer under your eyes, and as an eye mask it's a little bit more of a treat than an eye cream. So I've popped these on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these on normally for about 20 minutes and then take them off. As you can see, they're really glowy, really hydrating, and just make the skin a lot better. Now for the best base, you need to use a moisturizer. For this I'm using my vitamin C cream and applying this again all over the face, making sure I also take it down the neck and pop it on the head as well. And what I do is I leave this for about 5 minutes. I feel my skin, make sure it's tacky, and if anywhere feels like it's really soaked that moisturizer in, I go in with a little bit more, as this tends to be a more dry area. For a better brow application, I rub any excess moisturizer off, and I'm going in with my Soap and Glory Brow Archery Pencil in brown. Starting off by brushing my brows through, this allows me to see where they sit and if any places are sparse. So I tend to find the end of my brow is a lot more sparse than the front of my brow, so I'm going in there and just darkening it slightly. I also like to elongate it a little bit more, and I'm also going in around my arch just to really make sure that that is defined. Then if the product tends to build up a little bit, I just brush through again with that comb at the end and go back in. Now for the front of the brow, I'm starting off at the bottom part and I'm just starting to define that, and then brushing upwards. I don't want to go too heavy here. Then just adding a little bit more on the top part of the brow, and again I'm going to brush through to make sure all of the product is dispersed nicely. To set that in place, I'm going in with my Urban Decay Slick Day Brow Gel, and literally I'm just going to brush through. So I normally go through a couple times with this just to make sure that the gel is really set in place. I also make sure that I always comb upwards to keep the brows really nice, high and lifted. So these are how the brows are looking. We're then going to move on to the eyes, and to do this I'm using my P. Louise Cosmetic Base in Rumour 02. Using a big flat brush to apply this, and I'm going to do lots of little strokes for this all over the eyelid to make sure that the product is dispersed evenly. I also use the space to shape under the brow, so I'm going to take this as closely to the brow as possible, making sure that I really blend in the edges. If you do not blend in the edges, it can go crusty with your eyeshadow, so make sure you do this. I then also like to make sure that I shape the brow on top, so taking a little bit of this excess product on the brush and just popping that on the top of the brow as well. Now time for the eyes. I'm starting off with sellotape. This is really great for catching any excess eyeshadow and giving you a really sharp wing, so popping this on either corner of the eye. And for today's palette, I'm going in with the Icy Nude palette by Huda Beauty and taking the shade First Class on a little dense brush. I'm going to start by popping this on the very outer corner of the eye. So applying this in almost like a patting motion, doing this obviously on both sides of the eye to add that bit of warmth. I'm then going in with a big blendy brush and starting to blend that outwards and upwards through the crease. And you might see this throughout the video, but it's very much an add the colour, blend it through. Like, there is a lot of adding and blending. It does take a little bit of time, but it's what you do for the best result. So next up, going in with the shade Unapologetic, and I'm going in again on the outer corner of the eye with that same little dense brush, just building up that colour. And once that's built up, again going in with that big fluffy brush and blending in. And this is where that process starts to repeat. So again, going in with that little dense brush and then blending in again with a bigger brush. It is just a constant blend, pat colour in, blend, pat colour in, doing the exact same on the other eye, and this is the best way to add colour into your eye without it going chalky. Next up for eyeliner, I'm going in with my H&M eyeshadow pen, and I'm literally going in and drawing this right by the sellotape, and because the sellotape's there, it's not going to look messy. You can be quite free with this. And then this is sort of a process where I pop the colour on, and then I take a little flat brush and I just sort of dab that in so it's all blended. I'm then going in on top with the shade Faux Fur from the palette, and I'm adding this again with that really small little flat brush, and this is just going to really deepen the colour. Also, because it's an eyeshadow, it's a really great method for making that smoky look, because you can smoke it out a little bit more than you would be able to a liquid colour. So just blending that in with that little small dense brush, and then going in with my big fluffy brush and adding that initial colour I went in with just further into the eye to add a bit more depth. Once I've added the depth on both sides of the eye, I'm then going back in with my P. Louise base, and I'm going to start popping this on the very inner corner. Because I'm adding a shimmer shade here, I want something for it to really stick to. As shimmers can easily fall down the face, which you do not want throughout the day. So always add a base again if you are going to go in with a shimmer, as it just holds it onto the skin for a lot longer. So this is my shimmer choice for the day, and what I'm going to do is just start by popping this on with my finger. You can use a brush if you want to, but I always find they aren't half as good as when you use a finger. So always apply your shimmer with a finger if you want a really bright, intense look. I also do a patting motion for this, as I find it really helps to stick it down a bit more. I'm then going back in with that deeper eyeshadow shade, and I'm just making my eyeliner a little bit longer, so I'm taking that further into the inner corner of the eye, as this helps to shape the eye a bit more. Also taking this Morphe pencil in like a deep goldy brown colour, and I'm popping this on the upper inner corner of my waterline. This is really going to help to make the eyes look a little bit darker without it being too harsh. Taking a skin tone shade, and I'm popping this just under the eyebrow. If you have mascara on, it stops it from transferring, so always do this. Now for the moment of truth, I'm pulling off the sellotape, and as you can see, it's a really perfect, sharp, strong wing. So just to enhance this, I'm going in with some false lashes. These are brown lashes, as they're a little bit more natural and go with the look. So I'm popping these on the outer corner of the eye, and then securing them in with tweezers on the inner corner. Obviously adding mascara afterwards to blend my natural lashes in with the false lashes that I've just applied. Now onto the base, I am going in with this Collection Plump Grip Primer. This is really great for holding product on, so I'm putting this on with my fingers, blending it all over the skin, and I'm really focusing it on the centre of the skin, as I find I get oily there. Now I wanted to try doing an undercoat of contour, so I'm taking this Liquid Contour by Collection, and I'm just popping this all on the sort of outside of my face. So taking this on the side of my head, cheekbones, on my chin, and I also wanted to take a little bit of this just on the sides of my nose. Now I'm blending that in. Because I am going on top with my foundation, I don't need to worry about blending this in too much. So I'm taking this angled brush, and I'm just sort of blending out the product so it's not all sat on the skin. It does look quite harsh, quite dark, and not very blended. But like I said, because we are going in afterwards with foundation, you don't need to worry too much about blending this in. This just adds a little bit of depth underneath. Now taking a smaller brush, and I'm just going to start by blending the sides of my nose. Again, I'm not over blending this because, like I said, we're going in with the foundation on top. Now I promise this is not sponsored, but on top I'm going in with another Collection product. This is the Lasting Perfection foundation, and I'm just going to start by blending this into the brush. If you blend this into the brush and then pop it on the skin, you get a much more even coverage, so it's definitely a step that I recommend. I'm also avoiding the eye area. If you put too many products down, it can make it crease, so I only want my concealer here. That means I'm not putting any foundation around under my eyes, and I'm literally just putting it everywhere else on my face. Again, I really make sure that I buff the foundation in the brush on the back of my hand before I apply it to the face. If you go in with too much product on the face, it can make you look like you've got a lot of texture and go really cakey. So apply little layers and build it up over time. Another technique I'm doing is applying it on the top of my lips, as when I come around to putting my lipstick on, it does help to hold it a lot better, so I really want to make sure I do this. Now going back in with a little bit more bronzer on top, I'm going in with my butter bronzer, and I'm just going to lightly tap this into the skin. I don't want to rub it around too much, as I don't want to disturb the foundation and products underneath. And I am applying this butter bronzer everywhere that I applied that initial contour colour, so I'm doing it on the sides of the cheeks, on the head, and I'm also taking that smaller brush again and popping it down the sides of the nose to shape the nose a little bit better. Adding more colour into the skin, I'm going in with my Buff Blush by Glow Hub, and what I'm going to do is just start by tapping this onto the skin. I'm popping this on the high points of the cheekbones and then blending it in with a blusher brush. A technique I also like to do is take the blusher up just by the side of where I've done that liner, so almost like on the temples. This makes it look a lot less like a line on the side of your face. So doing the exact same on the other side, adding the cream blusher, blending it in with the brush, and then making sure that I add a little bit on the nose as well, as this is where the sun will naturally hit. Now going in with my Collection concealer, this is definitely a much brighter concealer. I'm applying this just under the start of the eye, on either side, and then also I'm going to apply a little bit just on the corner where the wing is, but I don't want to add too much. If you add too much, it's much harder to blend here, and you don't find you need as much coverage on the outside of your face. So just blending this in with my Little Zoeva concealer brush, and I'm really making sure to be careful around the wing. I want to get as close to it as possible, but obviously do not touch it. So I'm doing almost like a tapping motion near this. For the rest of my concealer, I'm blending it downwards onto the cheek to make sure it gives that nice brightening effect, rubbing off any excess and making sure it's all blended in on the skin to prevent any creasing and cakiness. Setting that in place straight away to prevent any creasing, I'm using my Huda Beauty powder, and I'm applying this with a big powder puff. So I'm starting off by applying this directly under the eye with a patting motion again, and what I like to do is just make sure to prevent any transfer, popping it underneath the eyebrow. This stops your mascara from transferring. Doing the exact same again on the other side, so going underneath the eye, underneath the eyebrow, and then on the rest of the face. So I'm going on my forehead, I'm going on my nose, down the sides of my nose, and I also like to pop it on my chin. Adding a little bit more colour back into the skin, so I'm going back in with my butter bronzer and just applying this on the cheeks, down the sides of the nose. And I did feel like I needed to add a little bit more of that blusher colour back into the skin, so I'm taking this colour from NARS and I just keep building that up. Again, I really like using a patting motion for this to prevent anything from moving underneath. And I'm applying this everywhere I applied the cream blusher, so on the cheeks, temples and nose. Adding a bit of shimmer on top, I'm going in with my number 7 shimmer palette and I'm just applying this directly on top of where I put that blusher to add that nice bit of a natural glow, doing it on both sides of the cheeks. Back to the eyes, I'm taking that dark brown eyeshadow on an angled brush and I'm just applying this on the outer corner of the eye as I want to add a little bit more depth under there, as it did look a little bit bright and bold without anything. So then I'm taking this iced out colour to make yourself look more awake. I'm putting this on the inner corner of the eye, underneath that inner corner where I didn't put the brown, and also just under the eyebrow to brighten. Now applying some mascara on the outer corners of the eye where I put that dark brown shadow, and then we're on to lips. So I'm going in with my lip liner, which is Myth from House Labs, and I'm just starting by overlining my lips slightly. I'm just taking this all around my lips, and I do overline in the centre of my lips, so over my cupid's bow is overlined and then the bottom part is overlined, but I never overline on the sides. I follow my natural shape there. So once I've outlined my lips, I'm then going in with my lipstick. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick, so a very long lasting one, and I'm just going to start by popping this literally all over my lips, so you can be quite messy with this as we're going to blend it in afterwards anyway. So back in with my lip liner, I'm just going to go back over the top where I originally lined my lips, as where I put my lipstick it's sort of covered and dulled down the colour. I'm then just patting it with my finger to blend the two colours together and make it look a little bit more natural. Now adding my Collection lip gloss just on the top, I'm literally just applying this as you would a lip gloss, putting it all over my lips, top and bottom. To set that all in place, I'm going in again with my Collection setting spray. I love this setting spray and this just holds everything in place. And then here is the final result. So it's that really nice colour. You could literally wear this absolutely anywhere, whether you're going to a prom, whether you're a bridesmaid, whether you're even a bride. It's just that really lovely soft glam look that isn't too harsh. It's just much more blended and I just love this look. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!